Hey all, what's going on? You're listening to Chicago Humanities Tapes, the audio arm of the Chicago Humanities Live Festivals. Happy Pride Month from us here at Chicago Humanities. I'm Elisa Rosenthal, and I'm so excited to bring you this gorge conversation from our 2023 season between the YouTube star and transgender activist Gigi Gorgeous and her BFF Gottmik, the drag performer, makeup artist, and first transgender male to compete on RuPaul's Drag Race, chatting about friendship, sex, and all things trans. They're interviewed by Aurora Sexton, actor and Miss Gay USofA pageant winner, with such thoughtful humor and, don't worry, plenty of tea. Head over to chicagohumanities.org for more information on our speakers and full show notes, including a transcript. I've also included a link to check out their book, The Tea Guide, Our Trans Experiences and a Celebration of Gender Expression, Man, Woman, Non-Binary, and Beyond. Check out our live calendar of events and sign up for our email list so you don't miss your favorite speaker the next time they're in town. I hear we've got some truly fab drag queens and queer speakers coming up for the fall. Recorded live in spring 2023 at Chicago's Chop Shop, a 100-year-old former auto body shop that now has a butcher in it and a full event space in the back, please enjoy Gigi Gorgeous, Gottmik, and Aurora Sexton.
Hello, Chicago! How are we feeling tonight? It is so nice to be back in the Windy City. I called this city home for 7 years, and just walking down Michigan Avenue today, I felt like I was right back at home. This really is the best place in the summertime, isn't it? Wintertime, you can keep it. You know. But welcome to Chicago, Gottmik and Gigi Gorgeous.
Thank you so much. Not Chi-Town.
And you were enjoying the local pizza last night.
Yeah, I had way too much pizza. We had so much deep fried food at Lou Maloney's. Is that not what it's called?
No, I literally think it's just lose.
Oh, lose. Well, what's the M word after?
Don't know.
Milani's. Malnati.
See, she knows. I was a Giordano's girl. Welcome, welcome, one and all. We are here tonight to celebrate two amazing trailblazers in our community. I know they got a lovely introduction coming out, but I'm going to elaborate a little bit. Gigi, you've been a YouTube darling since 2007, 2008. You put your whole life out for the world to see. You were one of the first trans people to document your journey, document your transition. You also did so in your film, This Is Everything, in 2017. You've been in magazines, TV shows. They mentioned Forbes 30 Under 30. I was also on a 30 Under 30 list for the Windy City Times. Not quite Forbes, but still in print. But so you've done a lot. You've done a lot of amazing things. And Gottmik, you know, you as well, even before Drag Race, you were a celebrity makeup artist.
Makeups.
Makeup.
Love that.
Yeah, I work as a celebrity makeup artist too, and
I know.
It's such a cool world.
We've been on
isn't
set
it?
together.
We got to double team somebody someday.
Honey,
Oh
tonight.
my God.
we like a good three-way.
That
But
is
you've
the new
worked
era.
with Cindy Crawford, Paris Hilton, Adam Lambert, Heidi Klum, just to name a few. And then you were on a little show called RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes.
Yes. Do we have any Drag Race fans in the house? And you placed third runner-up on season 13.
If you want to word it like that, I guess.
Hey, look, you don't have to win to win.
all I'm saying.
I've been a third runner-up as well at Miss Continental here in Chicago. Any Miss Continental fans in the house? One of the oldest pageants in America for trans women, for female impersonator, is right here in Chicago. It's one of the reasons I moved here. And it's still going on today, so make sure you go and support that wonderful system. But tonight, we are going to get into this amazing book called The Tea Guide. The Tea Guide. So I guess let's start. Why did you both write The Tea Guide? Why is this important to put out to the world now?
I think, you know, Kate and I are Gottmik and I are such creative people that we just, you know, we spiral. Whenever we hang out, we're like, oh my God, what should we do? What can we create? We're both such like artists in that way. And we were like, we should write a book. Like, you're a trans man, I'm a trans girl. Like, this could be so major. And it just really came to be so naturally. And we were like, it's never been done before. We wish that we had a book on like how to come out and like all the resources and the stories and just all of the things that we were feeling in our minds, but we weren't validated towards because we never really heard it before. So we were like, we should really just give it all and write a book together. And then really we just made it happen, and now we're here talking about it. And
yeah,
it's insane.
We're like crazy friends. Like we'll fully be drinking in the pool, and we're like, "You look gorgeous with hair in front of your face. Should we do a full PowerPoint about why that should be a magazine cover for someone?" And we're like, "Yes, we should." And we like fully do it. It's like we're just that type of people, I guess. And we, when I started transitioning, I fully really didn't have any trans guys that really like matched what I was feeling. So I thought I was crazy for so long. And then I moved out to LA and met a bunch of amazing trans women. And I kind of learned what trans was for the very first time through these amazing trans women. But I was like, but they're girls. Like, I'm not going to get anything out of that. And then becoming so close with Gigi, I was like, just because you're a girl, the trans experience is kind of a universal experience, and I'm learning so much from you and vice versa. And that's like something I never saw coming, and it's so important to talk about. And I just think, like, how often do you get two best friends that actually are best friends and are so open about their journeys from start to finish? And so I was like, we just have to write this down.
Yeah, and that really comes across in this book because this book is written really as a conversation. It's not a how-to. It's not preachy. It's very just from your personal experience, what you've both been through. And the love that you two share for each other is very clear throughout this book, for your struggles, your hopes, your dreams, and the advice you give to others to follow their own hopes and dreams and their transition journey or allyship, wherever you find yourself in this community. And you have so many amazing contributors in this book, just to name a few. Adam Lambert, Elok, Amanda Lepore, Candace Kane, Courtney Act, Jazz Jennings, Laith Ashley, Lena Bradford, Paris Hilton. I mean, there's so many wonderful people in this book.
We went off with the contributors.
You went off.
We really
went
did.
off.
We said yes.
So, I reading this book, I remember when I was first transitioning, and it was in the very early days of the internet, and really, even going to healthcare workers, you had to educate them on your own healthcare, which was kind of terrifying in a way. And the only real support I found online was this website called TS Roadmap. I don't think it's there anymore. But it was kind of like a Wikipedia that everybody just contributed to of doctors, therapists, resources. It was very hodgepodge. And this is all a one-stop shop.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to
really,
do.
for new people coming in, finding themselves as a guide. How would having a book like this have helped you on your personal transition journeys when you were first starting out?
I mean, it would have been the most important thing in the world to me because, like I was saying a second ago, that I literally didn't feel like any trans guy saw. I was like, that's the most muscular, like, cis-looking dude I've ever seen in my life who tries to hide any ounce of feminine energy, period. And I just love my feminine side, even though I don't identify as a female. I just still love expressing that, and I think femininity is so beautiful, and I want to use it as art. And I was like, that there has to be something there. I know I'm not crazy, and so having something like this, it's like Gigi and I talking, and even like both Gigi and I are very binary people. We're very on the opposite sides of the binary, and stay there. And I just play with gender as art. And then, so we'd have like a chapter where we're going back and forth and talking. And then we have someone contributing in the book that has the complete opposite idea of what trans is and is like, I do not want any hormones. I do not want any surgery. And this is why. And it is so amazing to see him. When I was getting all their contributor stories back, I was reading these and it was like opening my brain up. I was like, oh my God. Like, I don't have to have bottom surgery if I don't want. Like, am I only thinking about that because society's telling me that that's what like a guy is, you know? Am I doing this for me, or am I doing it for what society wants me to be? And so it's like this book opened my brain up because we were having conversations with just like such amazing people who have spent their whole lives dedicated to figuring out who they are. And so if I had this when I was younger, I would have transitioned so much earlier. My parents would have understood what was going on so much earlier, and it would have just been a game changer for sure.
Sure. What about you?
I think this book really is all about safety for, like we wish we had this growing up, of course, but safety in the means of like the internal aspect, like your mental, really just knowing not to make the wrong decisions. Like, as you mentioned, that website that's probably not around anymore. I used to go on a website that my old trans girlfriend told me about, and I don't think it's there anymore either. I think it was called Susan's Closet. Do you remember that one? Susan's
Closet.
Or Susan's baggage or Susan's closet or something like that.
Susan had a lot of baggage, but no, I didn't go.
Well, you could get like hormones off that website.
Oh, really?
Oh, real one-stop shop.
Yes, it was like
That's
everything.
me and Gigi's next business venture.
So I was like, okay, yeah, if you're suggesting it, for sure, I'll just get my hormones off that website. And before I knew it, I was getting like estradiol, which like you rub on the inside of your thighs, which like, older women use for like menopause and stuff. But I thought it was completely like helpful and safe and cute, but it's really not. And I think that, everything like that we've talked about and shared in the book, like I share something about like my pumping party and my silicone injections and all of that. It literally is just everything that we've gone through, we've made mistakes, and we know the outside, we know the tail end of the mistakes that we've made, and also the successes that we've had. And we just put that in there as well. It's not all of, it's not all bad. And I think, having this growing up, it would have just made it so much easier to transition, because I would have been like, oh God, I wish I had this chapter on bathrooms, or oh my God, I wish I had this chapter on hormones or dating or sex or anything like that. Like, I wish I just had heard this from somebody's lips, because I can't really pinpoint how I'm feeling. And this book literally gives you if you go through the table of contents, it's like there are so many things, like everything's in there, bitch, everything. So we're very proud of that.
And I think too, and as we live in Hollywood, so we know this especially, when it comes to trans stories, there's so much focus on the trauma, there's so much focus on the pain, and not enough on the joy and the happiness that transitioning brings into our lives. And there's so much joy in this book. There's so much happiness and love in this book, which I think is so needed and necessary right now at this time we're going through in America, where everywhere you look, it's all about trans people. We're all over the news. Why are you so obsessed with us? We're just everywhere. Right. But going back into the book, I want to start with your parents. It really, your transition, it starts with you, but it also starts with your family. And your dad said in this book, which I found very, it really resonated with me. He said, I initially wondered how family and friends would react, but Gigi's expectation was that everyone would understand and respect her decision immediately, and that we would all get the she, her pronouns right all the time. Well, I didn't do so well on that front. And it took Gigi a long time to appreciate that I could be supportive of her decision, even though I didn't always use the right name or pronouns. 20 years of using Greg and he, him pronouns didn't make the change easy to adapt to quickly for me. It took a while, but I realized I was mourning the loss of my son as I was trying to figure out how to build a relationship with my new daughter. And I found that so powerful because I remember going through my transition, and I immediately knew, as did you, that this is who I am, this is what I'm going to be, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get there, and you're either coming along for the ride or not. And I didn't take into account at that young age that my mom also had to transition with me, my grandmother, my sister, my uncle, everybody in my family around me, and that it takes patience, it takes grace to walk your family through that process with you. What was that journey like for you?
I mean, I'm so happy to hear that you relate with that as well, because I feel like so many people don't talk about it. And it's something that, you know, the aftermath years later, it's like, yeah, me and my dad are so happy. He was always there for me. We never had a fight or anything like that. But it is true. You do have to transition with your family and your friends. It's not on them. It's not them being ignorant or not supporting you. It's just them learning with you. And it's not on us to educate the ones around us, but I think with maturity and years in, it becomes a responsibility to do so. And that's what I felt with my dad when he said that. You know, he speaks so eloquently, but like we had, you know, a few years of awkwardness and like what's going on. And I think a lot of trans people, they want to just erase their old past. They want to erase who they were. They want to start new. And a term that we use a lot, or a phrase that we use a lot rather in this book is you got to get into it or get lost. And that's something that I use in my everyday life. I'm like, if you're not going to be with me, then you got to get lost, because like I am like a one-track mind, and this isn't going to succeed without me being involved and fully in it. I can't have any loose baggage. But it's like your family, and it's like your friends, you know, like you have to bring them along for the trip. And it's so special that he was there for me, even when I was pushing him away with my transition at the beginning. He was like, no, I love you. I'm going to come with you. And I was like, no, not if you're going to be negative. And he was like, being negative isn't messing up your pronouns. I've just messed up your pronouns. That's it. Like, I don't mean it as like a, you know, hate speech or whatever. So I think that was really important to write about too. And I'm so happy that he wrote so honestly in the book. It was actually a last minute thing that Gottmik and I decided. We were like, wait, should we have like our family write in the book? Like, why didn't we have this? And like literally 24 hours later, they had full excerpts written, and we were like so excited to put it in. And yeah. Love you, Dad.
And I love that they did. And Gottmik, you know, your family, this is from your dad. When we first learned of Cade's transgender journey, we admittedly struggled with it, and there were lots of tears and fears. For a conservative Christian family, learning the truth was not easy. We knew so little of what it meant to be transgender. Communication and understanding are key at a time when parents know little about this topic, and even the child is learning to express themselves authentically. So how is that, you know, coming out to conservative Christian parents?
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy, and I'm someone who likes to keep everything kind of in until I'm like 100% sure what was going on. And to me, coming from like a very, very Catholic conservative background, it was like instilled in my brain that like trans was like the worst thing that could happen. And so it was always there. I was like, literally, if you look at my school pics, it was like I was always in Catholic uniforms. I was always in the boy uniform, boy toy at McDonald's, bitch. Like my parents like see me peeing standing up, and they're like, sit the fuck down. Like it was like they were just like, what the fuck? And so like seeing all those red flags, it's so weird, but we like genuinely didn't have the language to express what trans was at all. Like the first time I even saw what gay was when Adam Lambert went on American Idol, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, that is me, and I just didn't get it. And so my parents like always saw something there, and they were like, it's like, are you a lesbian? I was like, no, but something in there is happening. Like, I was like, there's something in that community, but I'm not lesbian. Like, it was just something I always knew. And when I first came out to them, I kind of already started my transition, and I was like, this is happening. Like Gigi said, get into it or get lost, because I need this to happen for me. And the second I injected hormones, it literally felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. It really was, even though there was no physical immediate transformation, it just like felt like the universe was like, you got it, bitch. You're on the right path. So it was insane. So I just had to tell them, and it was so it was like he said, just tears and insane. But then instead of looking back, I'm like, they didn't have the language for what trans is either. Just like you did not have the language for what trans is either. And you just wanted them to like get into it immediately. So now I wish I could have gone back and been like, this is what it is, and it is normal. And like trans people are just normal people, and it's fine. But I just, at that time, it was so dramatic for me, and I didn't have the mental capacity or space to have that conversation. But also at the same time, I've also learned that it's not always our responsibility to educate people. You know, at the exact same time, I've definitely dealt with people where they're like insanely like ignorant, and then it's like on set or something, and the people on set are like, she doesn't mean it in a mean way though. I'm like, God, it's not my job to sit here and educate every single person about how I'm not like a freak in the corner, you know? It's not always your job. So it's a weird balance that I'm even still to this day trying to figure out, that it's like, you know, it is so important to be like open and honest and like educate people, but then at some point you have to realize that you are an amazing human and a very valid person, and it's not your job to educate everyone at the exact same time. So
absolutely, 100%. You know, I mean, it's different being public figures because it's kind of our job to educate, but that's what we signed up for in being public figures. But in a personal, everyday role, it's not your job to educate somebody you meet at a store, or somebody you're going on a date with, or somebody doesn't have a meaningful place in your life, you know, about who you are. It's just your job to present and be a kind human being. Exactly. Amen?
Yeah, there's enough going on in our minds, in everybody's lives and minds, where you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. And I think that that's so important to know, because at the beginning of my transition, I was ready. Every date I went on, every new friend I met, I was so ready to lay it all out for them. Like, but that takes so much energy, and like nobody has that amount of energy, bitch. Like that is a lot. Like my social battery is already like at a 2.
Yes.
It brought it to like a 0.
Yes,
like I just
and people
can't
get
stand
crazy
it.
too. Like on Grindr or something, like it'll say like trans, like clear up front. I'm like not playing games here with what it says. And then I'm like, you know, I'm trans, right? Just be like up front, and people will be like so like scared that they're hooking up with a trans person or something, and they'll be, yeah, I can fucking read, or like I'm like, oh my God, like these people are crazy. Like it's just so insane, and that's what we're dealing with every day, and it gets tiring. So you just have to remember like to protect your energy and realize that it's not always your job to be like, it's okay, baby, I'm trans, like it'll be fine. Like no, like
no. Half the time, I don't even have the energy to put on eyelashes. Like, you get chapstick, and that's it.
You're telling me.
And you will be grateful for it.
Yes.
That's all of you with me right now.
But that is another topic that comes up in the book. You have a whole chapter on dating and relationships. And I think, I will definitely say, at least from my personal experience, dating, I feel, has gotten easier, especially in LA. I think more people are open-minded to the idea of trans people, trans bodies, as being more socially acceptable, even though it shouldn't have to be that. It should really be about who the person is on the inside, you know. But unfortunately, that's not the society we live in. So we just have to navigate it our own way. But I think when it comes to dating, you, as a trans person, you want to be with somebody who wants to be with you because they like you, they enjoy your company, not because they fetishize you and they want to have the trans experience. Because then they're just using you, you know, to have that fantasy, and then they discard you. What is your dating life like?
Loaded question. You better give it to him.
It's funny because I am injecting tea and I'm a faggot at heart, honey. I sometimes, admittedly, will give into that fetishization. I'll be like, well, I'm horny too. It's whatever. I'll give you your fantasy. But at the end of the day, it's like that is just like I wake up the next day, I'm like, damn, like no, that is not obviously feeding my soul at all, and that's obviously not going to long-term help me at all. And I'm someone who is very serious. I'm very into energies and stuff. And so when I first started transitioning, I actually stopped having sex at all because I was like, I'm not medically transitioned. I don't really know what's going on. And it's very, very RuPaul. Like, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else vibes? Because I was like, how am I going to let someone fuck me? And then I'm like, I'm not even comfortable with my body or my spirit or who I am. So I stopped having sex completely for like a couple years, I think, until I fully was like, I'm so comfortable with who I am and I love who I am. And no matter if they are trying to fetishize me, like I am going to be like spiritually connected with myself and it'll be fine. And I still do run into that, obviously, and but it is, like you said, way more open. I think people are really just realizing that if you're attracted to like men, you're attracted to like masculine energy, and that's what I will give you, baby. And if you're attracted to women, you will be attracted to women, and that is what they will give you, honey. Like, it is literally, it's just, people are realizing that more and more every day, and I'm like, it's been going pretty good for me, actually. I might have to go to the clinic after this tour.
Oh, wow. Welcome to Chicago.
I know.
But that's so great, you know, if you choose to be celibate, if you choose to take a break, I think that's so important, and that's one theme throughout the book. Check in with yourself. Check in with yourself. Is what am I thinking? What is my reality? How do I feel? I think it's so important to constantly have those check-ins mentally and make sure that you're in a good place, make sure that you're treating yourself well, make sure that you're allowing other people around you outside to treat you well. And if they don't belong in your space.
Yeah, no, I think checking in with yourself is like the main thing. It's like, it almost sounds like so cliche, but literally stepping back and making sure every single thing you do, whether it's a job, whether it's transitioning, whether it's sex, like, you're like, am I doing this because it makes me happy and it's gonna make me grow as a person? And really learning that, which is so recent for me actually, has changed my life, because it's like, no, like I don't, like I was saying, like, the bottom surgery thing. I was like so serious. Like, it was dead ass for me before. And now I'm like, who said that like all guys have dicks? Like that, like who did that to me in my brain, you know? And it's like, is that for me? Like, is that something I actually need? Or is it just what society told me? And like, same with guys. I'm like, why am I like allowing a guy to talk to me like this? It's just so important to step back and being like, is this what's making me happy and helping me grow as a person?
Right. And for so many trans people, obviously we want the dream. We want to fall in love. We want to get married. You know, some people want children. I don't. But I like being the auntie. Auntie Aurora. I can spoil them and give them back. But you really hit the jackpot. You lived the dream. You are a married woman.
Yes. My husband's right back there, Nat.
That
His hand is
back
up.
there, Nat's
I'm calling
daddy.
him out.
Hit the jackpot.
You know, when you had, you know, the most beautiful fairy tale dream wedding. YouTube
It really
it's all there.
was. It was.
It was great. But you know, how special, aside from just, you know, getting married, that special feeling everybody feels, how did that feel to you as a trans woman realizing that dream?
So it was not always like that. Absolutely, I would go on dating apps. I would meet people, and it felt so fetishy. I'd get exactly what Cade's getting, and it was very much like, I want to hit that trans, marker. I just want to hook up with a trans person. Like, this is what I want. And some people would play the game, and they'd be like, oh no, it's like, I really want to see you. Or some people would just straight up be like, no, I really just want to hook up with a trans person. It's like, okay, yeah, make me feel like shit about myself. Why don't you? Yeah. And it is something that is so difficult, because unless you have the amount of like mature confidence to go out in the world and be like, this is literally who I am, take it or leave it. And if you treat me any kind of way that I don't deserve, then I'm not gonna give you the time of day. It's only like the insecure and the people who aren't really grown enough that feed into it, and these people can prey on. Unless, obviously, like Cade said, if you're into that for a night or two. Hello. But finding somebody that really like accepts you, especially as a trans person, is it's so rare and it's so beautiful. Like, I only have a handful of trans girls in my mind that are married and happy, and it's just, it takes such a secure person to be with a trans person, especially if they're very loud and proud about their journey. It's all about loving who's like inside, and I've found that, and it's just so nice to not be insecure about who I am anymore, like sexually or, just in life. It's like, yep, I'm accepted and I'm loved, and this just feels amazing, and I can go out there wearing like tomboy clothes or like no makeup and just not feel insecure because I don't feel girly enough or, present enough female attributes. It's just one of those things where I just feel really lucky, and I was just happy to share it with the world.
I love that. You both do talk extensively about surgery and body augmentation in the book. And as you mentioned in the book, and we want to mention here, you should never be pressured to have plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery, for any reason, unless it makes you happy. Unless you feel it's going to enrich your life and how you feel about and see yourself, you should only do it for you. And when it comes to silicone, as you mentioned in the book, silicone, for those of you who are not familiar, is a dangerous substance that for many years was the only way that trans women could get those shapely hips and breasts, and they, basically it would go anywhere on your body. And many girls live with it. I do. Gigi does. Where we were very lucky, but there are so many other girls that have not been so lucky. And it's not safe. It's not legal. You can die from it. So I do not recommend it. We do not recommend it. If you know somebody that's doing it, tell them absolutely not. Plastic surgery has come so far. Now, a lot of the girls I know get BBLs, so you can get that shape. Or with trans men, there's top surgery, there's filler, there's jaw shaving, all that. I mean, there's a smorgasbord. But between the three of us, we could start our own quilting club. I mean, but I knew when I was having surgery that it was going to make me happy, and I don't regret a thing I've done. But I do wish in my early days that I'd made safer choices. What has your journey with that been?
My medical transition has truly saved my life. When I wrote in here, it's like I needed every surgery that I've gotten, and my journey with that is definitely not over. It's changing, but I don't think I would regret anything ever, because I just love being a guy. I think it's fun. It's who I am, and I just love emasculating my jaw. I have filler in my jaw. I talk about in the book what type of top surgery I got and how to talk to your surgeon about what shape you want and how your pectoral muscles work and all of that, because it's so different, and a lot of guys don't really realize that. They just go and this surgeon just kind of cuts and says have fun, but there's so many ways to communicate what the angle you want and how, when you work out, what your muscle's gonna do and how you find that. And I've kind of even started getting my tattoos and the shape of where my muscles will be, and be really a muscle daddy, so get ready for that era. But it was just, for me personally, the medical side of it and the surgeries are so important. And even before I knew I was trans, I knew I wanted top surgery. I just remember being in high school and being the only girl in the locker room hiding. I was no, this is so I just hated my chest. And I mean, if that's not a red flag, I don't know what my issue was. But so it was very important for me to have all of that. But we really drive it home in this book that that's just Gigi and I's experience, and then we get to talk to some amazing people that don't want hormones at all, don't want surgeries at all, and that journey is just as valid and just as important. And I am so happy that we got to highlight some stories that talk about that, because I feel that's not talked about enough, how valid that is to be a trans human. That's extremely valid, that does not need hormones or surgery or anything. So
yeah, and right now in the news, as I said earlier, we're everywhere. It's all people are talking about, and a lot of it's not good. And there's a lot of misinformation out there that children are being mutilated and that they're getting surgeries on demand for 7-year-olds. And I'm here to tell you that is not true. It is not happening. Most times they will not approve surgeries for children under 18. What they do approve is hormone therapy, puberty blockers, all those kinds of things. But trans people are just as diverse a community as any. And there are those who choose the full enchilada, or there are those who choose, to get a spruce up, or there are those who choose to do nothing at all and just exist.
Spruce up?
Which is just fine.
That is so funny. No, but even the approval of the hormone blockers and the hormone replacement therapy, it took me, I think, like 6 months as an adult to even meet with a psychiatrist to get an appointment, to get months later. Like, it's such a long, extensive process. It's not like you can be like, yep, my kid likes playing with the boy toys, like block those hormones. Like, it's not like that at all.
No.
And that is just so misconstrued in the media. It's insane. Because it was like, I'm someone that I wish I was on hormone blockers, but like I do see where like the conservative side could be like scared by that, but they don't realize that it's not easy to do. It's so hard, and there's like a million steps before you can just do that to someone. So that is definitely something that we need to
it takes
talk about
a very,
more.
very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, Gigi, how long did it take you?
I mean, when I transitioned, it was all on me. I was on Google. I was like trying to find any like endocrinologist for my hormones, which like was a new word to me, but I was like, if that's how I'm gonna get them, that's what I'm gonna search for in my community. So I would like drive to like several, and I like tried to manipulate the situation. I was like, I need them right now. It was so not easy. And you know, back then, it was 10 years ago, I remember I wanted my name and my gender confirmer, or confider?
Marker.
That's the word. There she is. I wanted that changed immediately because I was traveling so much and I would just get so triggered every time I'd go to the airport and I would get my dead name and my dead gender. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to even travel, but I have to. And I want to, but it was so triggering. And it was such a feat to get any of those changed. It was so insane. It was like, we need a therapist letter. We need a psychiatrist letter. We need proof of gender confirmation surgery.
Like most top surgeons, I think, are like, you need multiple psychiatrists. In Arizona, where I'm from, to change your gender marker, you need like full bottom surgery proof to change it.
It's insane.
It's insane.
So finally, when I ended up doing it a few years ago, maybe like 5 years ago, I went to Canada for like a work trip, and then I was like, let me just go to the DMV there or whatever it is, and I was like, let me just passport office. I was like, let me just figure it out. I go, it's literally half a piece of paper. Right at the top, it's like, what's your gender now? What do you want? What's your new name? It was so easy, and I was like, oh my God, Canada has come so far. And it's like insane. It was so easy, and then I got my passport in the mail, and I was like freaking out. And it just goes to show you how far some people are coming and how, suppressed other people are becoming. Yeah.
Right. Shockingly, I had a very easy time changing my name when I lived in Tennessee. Of all places.
Bitch, I live in California, and that shit took me 100 years. I can't.
Yes, I lived in Tennessee for 6 years. I still don't know how, but I did it. And this
fucked up, bitch.
So I lived in Chicago 2004 to 2012, and I won Entertainer of the Year, and I was offered a job at Play Dance Bar. So I moved down to Nashville for 6 years with Brooklyn Heights and many other Drag Race stars, and in the middle of that, I was like, I have to do this, because I felt the same way, going to the airport, when they look at me, I was like, oh God.
I know.
But, and it was the best feeling getting it done, but really, I just had to fill out a form. I went in front of a judge, and the judge, he was like, so why are you changing your name? And I was like, because I transitioned, and he did, yep, bam. Easy as pie. It's a very different situation there now.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but I mean, and it really comes down to states. There's such a patchwork of laws right now. If you're looking to change your gender marker or your birth certificate or your name, you really have to do your research in your state. And, with the government websites. But it is such a confirming feeling and a wonderful feeling to finally get that ID card, and it has your gender marker and your name on it. Is the best feeling in the world. So I think I want to get into safety now, because that also really ties into it, feeling safe. The world is not a safe place for trans people right now. it seemed for a long time we were achieving so many successes. We were starting to see ourselves on television and in media and in government. And now it seems like everything is regressing back and becoming scarier and scarier and scarier. And some of this comes from our queer community, unfortunately. There are people in the gay community, the queer community, that don't think trans people should be part of the community or part of the conversation. There are gay men out there that see trans women as a complete rebuff of masculinity, which is worshipped in the gay community. Let's just be real, it is. You had a hate crime experience, which is in the book, and you said, one time I was doing a pride event in a small town in middle America. In order to get into the gay club where the event was happening, you had to take an escalator. As I took it up with my friend, a guy was coming down on the other side, and when we passed each other, he reached over the center divide, pushed me, and screamed, "We do not want any transsexuals here." What went through your mind at that moment, knowing or thinking that you were in a safe space?
I mean, that was the craziest thing ever because, first of all, red flag, why are you taking an escalator to a gay club ever? Like, hello.
They had to do something with all those old Sears buildings,
Literally, like, what? Maybe red flag, honey. But I don't know. I'm someone who I'm just, like, so, just, like, loud and proud in who I am, and I will show up at any circuit party, shirtless orgy situation ever to live and not even think twice. And so I just, like, was here. And so he, like, reached over and shoved me, like, down the escalator, and I was with this other guy, and it was just so insane. I was like, fell, and I was like, did he just say what I think he said? Like, did I just trip? Like, I was like, there's no way that was just said to me, because it was literally like this past year that happened. And my friend was a psychopath and like jumped over and like chased him away. But I just couldn't believe that happened. And I, since then, or even before then, had a couple like full mental breakdowns where I was like traveling, and I've had people like in person in different countries and places say things like that to me about how they don't want me there, or like I'm not allowed to be there, or like whatever it may be. And it's just, it's mind blowing, I guess. I just couldn't even wrap my head around it at first. And then I let my little inner saboteur win for a while, and still to this day happens where I'm like, I should watch where I am and like not really get into like cis men spaces. And like I kind of would like lean back. And when I started doing that, I ended up spiraling and having these like breakdowns where I was like, okay, I'm like not supposed to be here. I'm not like ever going to have a cisgender guy experience. And I would get really upset, and I'd have my friends just like on the phone or like in person just crying with me, and just it was a lot of these weird breakdowns. But I realized that that's just like so bullshit, and that's going to be so in the past, and it's just going to take people like me to keep going there no matter what happens, and keep being louder and prouder than ever, and saying like fuck you, and I'm just as welcome as you are in this space. And if you're not into it, like literally just go away. Like you don't have to talk to me, So
yeah, Ron DeSantis.
Thanks. But yeah, it fucking sucks at the time, but as long as you have your amazing chosen family and dope friends around you, like everything is gonna be fine. And so I emphasize so much in the book that that's so important, because without like that support system, like I don't know even where I'd be today without people like Nats and Gigi and Aurora like paving the way and showing me that like I deserve to be here just as much as anybody else. So.
And you do.
Guys. Oh, thanks, gorgeous.
And Gigi, you had a very scary running out of the country. You flew to Dubai a couple years ago. I believe it was your first time going, and they wouldn't let you into the country.
Yes. So that was one of the most scariest moments of my life. I was meeting my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband. He was already there with my in-laws now, and they were all on a boat having fun, and I had flown in from Canada. So it was a long flight, and I was so excited to get there and like check in and go meet them on the boat and have fun in Dubai. And I was met at TSA with like this really, really hateful security guard. And it was very clear he knew who I was. So he gave me a hard time, put me into secondary questioning. And then before I knew it, I was being detained. And they were putting me to like another building, another area. And I was alone. And I had security with me that my boyfriend set up, thank God. But it just goes to show you never know. I mean, I know so many trans girls, some of which are like my good friends that have gone to Dubai many times to meet their boyfriends, to go travel, to go sightsee. And I never thought it would be an issue. I really didn't. But I hit a security guard that he just did not like me. All of my passports were, the gender marker, the names were changed, everything. So he just really pinpointed me and decided to be hateful towards me, and I ended up being detained for hours and hours and hours alone. And no one spoke English around me. It was completely terrifying. And the security I was with was hired for like an hour, and he was like, I'm not leaving you, by the way, just so you know. I'm not gonna leave you. And I was like, it's that bad? He was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna leave you with these guys. And they took my passport. They were like, she's flying out tomorrow. Like, she needs to get out, like, she's either leaving now or she's gonna leave tomorrow. So it was a really, really intense situation. And I just found myself pinching myself, looking around this airport where I could see there was hundreds of people around me minutes ago. And then I'm in this secluded space.
And the reason for your detainment was because they told you that you were impersonating a female.
Yeah, so it's illegal there for a man to impersonate a female, which was very ironic because that's what I had been doing for a lot of my life. And then I decided to transition, and that's actually who I was. And they had no reason for, they had no proof of that. It was literally the guy being an asshole and really just destroyed like 6 hours of my life. And then I was like, I got angry. I was like, I'm gonna do a story time on YouTube about this. I'm gonna share my experience. I'm gonna tell everyone what happened to me in Dubai. Because I think it's a cautionary tale, but it's also what happened to me. And this is just frustrating and it pisses me off. So I did, and then so many people were like, oh my God, I would have never thought Dubai had this going on. And I'm like, yeah, bitch, it just fucking happened to me. And thank God, because I don't know what they would have done, to be completely honest. Like, no shade to Dubai, obviously, or any other country. But, girl, it was scary.
It was scary, but that's also like one thing that so pisses me off and like hurts my like genuine little trans heart about what's going on with the laws in America right now and like Florida and Nashville and shit is like the fact that they're lumping the trans experience with drag queens and they're like female impersonators and drag queens as one kind of law. I'm like, that is the craziest thing in my brain ever.
Well, and if you read those laws, they are purposely written to be vague, because what is happening right now in America is a full-out war on gender non-conforming people. They do not see a difference between drag queens, female impersonators, trans people. We're all the same to them. We do not fit the normal gender standards, and therefore we are a threat. And now you see law after law after law being passed where they can fine what they consider female impersonators, but they don't say exactly what that is, which could, if a trans person, if Kim Petras goes and does a concert, she could be considered a female impersonator and could be arrested. Haley Kiyoko just did a concert in Nashville, and she was warned by undercover police that if she brought drag queens on stage with her, that she could be fined and they could be arrested. And she said, fuck you, I'm doing it anyway. And she did, as they should. It's important for, what they want is they don't want us to be visible. They want to erase us from public life, from public space, and we can't let that happen. We will not be eradicated, we will not be erased, and that's why this book is so important, because you're giving so much hope to a generation that is growing up with these laws, with these bills, and with this fear, and you're giving them hope.
Yes, yes.
You're giving them hope.
Thank you, Aurora. I love you.
Yes.
Also, it's fun.
Yes, but you're affecting change, and change comes slow. You know, you were not the first trans contestant on Drag Race, but you were the first trans contestant that was allowed, I shouldn't say allowed, but it was allowed, to present as your authentic self.
Yeah, like cast.
It was kind of an unspoken rule that they didn't take trans contestants, and even RuPaul came out and said a couple unkind things, and there was a backlash to that. And then you really came about because the audience demanded more representation on that show. So you were really the canary in the coal mine for the doors you've opened that everybody walked through.
Yes. They were like, well, let's just see how this one goes down.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
But how amazing that, yes, there are so many dark things happening around us in our world, but there's also so many beautiful things, and we're living in a generation of firsts. You both are firsts for your generation so that others can be seconds and thirds and fourths and fifths and sixths.
So are you, Miss Aurora
Thank you.
Sexton.
We're doing it. We're doing
the damn thing.
We're doing it. So let's talk about some fun stuff, because we got real serious for a minute.
We did, didn't we?
You talk about your role models in the book and people, that helped you, inspired you along your journey. You talked a lot about your girlfriend, Betty. Tell us about Betty.
Betty was everything at the time. We're no longer friends, which is fine because she was so inspiring to me. But it was a huge lesson to me, because I was like, oh my God, this is my first trans girlfriend. I met her in New York City, and I confided everything in her. I gave her everything. She gave me everything. And then just things didn't work out, as you can read in the book, as to why they didn't. And she was really shady. But still have love for her, Avi. Love you, Betty. But it just goes to show you that, was that shady?
Just a little bit.
I was being real, though. That was real. Promise. She showed me that, your first chosen family is not always your forever chosen family. And I put so much pressure on that, and I pushed people away around me that have been around a lot longer than her, because I was like, she is my chosen family. She's the first trans girl I met. Of course she's going to be in my life forever. No, bitch. It does not work out like that. And I'm very happy that she's not a part of my life, but I don't, take anything that she gave me for granted. She was there for a reason, or a season, not a reason. Or a reason.
Not a season.
Reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Oh, yeah. She wasn't the lifetime one. She was the reason in the season.
Okay.
Reason of the season.
And Gottmik, who was your reason, season, or lifetime?
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
Yeah, right? Me neither.
Is this a Marshall's ad? It sounds like a Christmas ad.
No, so you said that some of your role models were David Bowie, Adam Lambert, who is now a friend of yours.
Yes. I always grew up, I came out of the womb a little punk rock diva. I just knew that I loved anyone that was just pushing the boundaries. And it's just funny looking back, me not thinking I was trans or queer. I was just obsessed with David Bowie and Amanda Lepore and Adam Lambert. What is that? What did you think was going on, girl? But I just loved anyone that was just... was taking what society was saying and flipping it on its head and saying fuck you, who made these rules? And that's unfortunate to some how I live my life to this day, because I'm they're like, that's not how it's done. I'm like, says literally who? I don't think that's how it should be done. And so which is sometimes bad, but I, wake up every day and I just fight for what I think is right, no matter what anyone says. So people like David Bowie and John Waters and Divine, Adam Lambert, kissing a guy on TV was the end of the world. If you guys remember that, it was the craziest thing to ever happen, and now it's normal. And it's the fact that we try to ruin his career for doing that is just so crazy. And he's one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. So definitely so inspiring to me. Just taking something that it was him. He was just a very talented gay man and was I'm gonna fucking use this platform to show the world who I am, and did it. And that's what inspires me, and that's what I want to keep doing, and that's what Drag Race allowed me to do, and just show my naked ass, trans ass body on national television, and that's what I'm gonna keep doing for the rest of my life. So that's what inspires me for sure.
Keep showing that ass, honey.
Oh, I will, baby.
and there's so many role models in this book. I know one role model for you both and myself too is Amanda Lepore. For those of you who are not familiar, she is a iconic, that word gets used a lot, but she is really iconic status. Trans woman from New York City. She's been in David LaChapelle campaigns. She's been on the Swatch. She's been all over the world with a million different famous people. The first time I met her was here in Chicago. She came for an event at Berlin, and I was like, "What do you think of Chicago?" And she's like, "Oh, it's so nice. It's so pretty here. It's like New York with a facelift." And there's other icons in this book too. For example, let me see. I got my little sticky
I'm
note.
obsessed with the annotations.
We already talked about silicone.
The Trans Bible sticky notes.
So Lena Bradford. Lena Bradford, another iconic trans woman from New York City. She's a world-famous DJ, model. Also, Candace Cain is in the book. She was the first trans woman to be on primetime television. I still get starstruck when I see her.
Oh my God.
Like I've swam in her pool, and I'm just like, oh my God, Candace Cain.
I'm peeing in Candace Cain's
but
pool.
but I remember being 10 years old and seeing her on television and realizing that I had a future. Because I saw somebody who was beautiful, who was authentic, who was living her life the way she wanted to, and living her dreams. And I think that's how people look at the both of you now, right? Am I right?
Aurora, oh my God.
Aurora.
It's really amazing. What is one thing that's not in the book that you wish you'd put in?
Ooh, well, we were actually told by our publisher that we were on a page limit because we gave too much. So we had to cut a bunch of stuff. So in technicality, we actually could write a Tea Guide Part 2. And there were a bunch of contributors that were cut, unfortunately. There was a bunch of our stories that were cut.
I know, like, reading back, I've definitely grown so much since writing this. Like, I think we wrote this, like, starting, like, almost 2 years ago now we started writing this. So I was reading this, and I remember I was in a very strict top era in this book. And I'm like reading this back and I was like, whoa, I was like so triggered by my body at that point where I wouldn't even let anyone like have sex with me, like at all. Like I was like, no one can touch me, no one can look at me like, if we're having sex, like I'm gonna top you and it's gonna be the end of the day, like loves it, and goodbye. And I have like grown so much and like gotten so much more comfortable with my body and who I am, and it's just, and that's who I was at that time is extremely completely valid, and I'm so proud of everything I said in that book and stand by it. But I've just like grown since then. So I think like Gigi said, there's always time for a tea guide too, and I think this tea guide is this tea guide though is like there's no guide to transitioning. Like it's our personal journeys with people that we know and love that inspire us that are writing in this. And I think like so many other people I hope get inspired by this and they're gonna write their own tea guides. And there's gonna be a billion other tea guides out there written by other people who have different experiences or the same experiences but different like lenses on the situation. And so that's why I'm very excited about this book, is just to start opening this conversation more in a literary way, and hopefully you guys will write tea guides too.
Tea guide too. I also wanted to call out another contributor really quick, who's in this book, my good drag sister, and the winner of Drag Race Season 15, Sasha Colby.
Yes.
You know, her and I moved to Chicago at the same time, and we came up in the Miss Continental pageant system together in the Boys Town nightclubs and nightlife. And to see what she's achieved now is so inspiring to me and so many others, but also because I saw where she came from. And all it takes is care and love and support to achieve your wildest dreams and be your very best. And if you're not getting that from your family, build your own family. Find your tribe. I think that's so important. That is all throughout this book. Really, the theme of this book is being loved and loving yourself, which is so important to remember every day. I think for the average person who's looking at all this, it's important to be educated on the facts, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and you have to do your own research. Be an ally, be a friend. I think most people in America at this point have someone in their family or a friend that is part of the queer community, and just letting them know that you're there. And it doesn't mean you have to send in money, although that's always lovely and helps. But sometimes it's just a kind word or being a friend. I think that's something we're losing in America, is just being kind to one another. And it doesn't matter, what you look like, how you present, where you're from. We're all human beings, and we all deserve dignity and respect.
Yeah, no, I definitely think being kind and just like those little words of affirmation help for sure. And I think I've learned that being an ally, it's like one thing to say you're an ally and have fun at Pride and watch Mariah Carey dance around on stage at night once a year, but it's like also those when it actually comes down to it, like, are you gonna actually stand up for us when it's really the nitty gritty of it all? Like, I don't know if you guys saw that whole LA Dodgers thing going on right now with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, but that is exactly what we're trying to talk about in this book with Allyship. It was like, they want to have this Pride night and they want to say that they're there, and then the second that any like conservative Catholic people were like, I don't really like that, they were like, oh, no big deal, girl, like, trust and believe, we'll pull them. And it's like, so you're not. It's like, why are you even having this Pride night? Like, and it's like, where are your intentions coming from? So it's really important to just make sure that you're there through it all, and being an ally through the thick of it.
Yeah, you don't pinpoint when you want to be a part of the help. I think I learned a lot from my sister, and my cisgender female sister. When I first started coming out, she would literally fight for me out when we would go out. She'd be like, no. It's actually she, her, and her name is Gigi. And I'd be like, oh my God, like, what is this feeling? This feels amazing. And that's the truth about an ally. You don't have to be that savage, but you could be that savage. You could be. You got to find that gay person or friend or trans person or whoever to really just stand behind, and it makes them feel so safe, and other people will disarm. When you give them that energy, it will like shut it down, So that's what she taught me, and she's just so, like, she's in the book as well. She writes about her coming out experience. She's queer now. Within the past few years, but she wasn't back then. So like, apparently, an ally then, now not an ally now. But yeah, I think
there was a lot to unpack there. Buy the book.
Buy the book.
And most importantly, vote.
Right.
Vote. Run for office. Run for your school board. Go to PTA meetings. Be involved in your community, because that's where you see these awful bills springing up from. It starts small, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and good things can happen just as easily the same way. And to close out our discussion, I want to give a quote from one of your contributors, the first trans senator from Delaware, Miss Sarah McBride. As exhausting and frightening as this moment for trans people is, I remain hopeful. With those extra responsibilities that come with being a trans person in politics comes the inspiring opportunities to meet people throughout our community. What I've seen is that our community is diverse, vibrant, and resilient. I've seen that we are organic agents of change, opening hearts and changing minds through our presence. Indeed, the change we seek will not come from politicians or public figures alone. It will come as more and more trans people open hearts and change minds in their neighborhoods, their schools, workplaces, and faith communities. Having met so many members of our community, I am aware of how powerful we are, and this gives me immense hope for the future, and it gives me hope as well. I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight to support this incredible book. I want to thank the Chicago Humanities staff, Chris Simmons, Sam Leapley, our stage manager, Kate, and Chris, and thank all of you, and a big thank you to Gigi Gorgeous and Gottmik.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you, Aurora Sexton, icon of my life.
Yes, thank you, Aurora.
Love you, Gorge.
That was Gigi Gorgeous, Gottmik, and Aurora Sexton at the Chicago Humanities Spring Festival in 2023. Chicago Humanities Tapes is produced and hosted by me, Elisa Rosenthal, with help from the awesome team over at Chicago Humanities. Shout out to the wonderful staff who are programming these live events and making them sound fantastic. For more than 30 years, Chicago Humanities has created experiences through culture, creativity, and connection. Check out chicagohumanities.org for more information on becoming a member so you'll be the first to know about upcoming events and other insider perks. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our Season 1 finale and lots of fun stuff to come over the summer. The one and only musician, artist, and activist, Joan Baez, at the historic Old Town School of Folk Music. But in the meantime, stay human.